the latest news from across non-league football. Online at backofthenetsouth.co.uk and broadcasting live on YouTube, Twitter and Facebook. This is Back of the Net News.
Here are the news stories just after 7 o'clock. Crisis hit Dulwich Hamlet have announced that they have agreed to play their home games at Tooting and Mitcham's Imperial Fields for the remainder of the season. The club have made numerous headlines recently, with landlord Meadow Residential terminating their licence to play at their Champion Hill home ground. Confidence is growing that a deal for Raj Singh to gain control at Hartlepool United can be struck to stave off the threat of administration. The agreement, which has edged closer over the last few days, is understood to still be some way off though, with complex legal and contract details yet to be ironed out. Meanwhile, National League side Tranmere Rovers have taken the tough decision to close the club's academy. Rovers, who are currently well in the race to return to the English Football League, sit third in the table, but at the Prenton Park club will no longer have teams of players under 16. It's been announced that the EvoStick League members have voted 37 to 27 in favour of an East and West split of its Step 4 divisions, starting from next season. The switch should help cut out geographical anomalies, reduce travelling costs and encourage more Step 5 clubs to climb from the pyramid. And finally, BT Sports have renewed its exclusive rights to broadcast the Vanarama National League for a further 3 years until 2021. BT have also been broadcasting live and exclusive coverage of English football's 5th tier since its launch in August 2013. The deal will also see one match broadcast live each week, with extended highlights of all the other games also being shown. That's the news stories. I'm James Cummins.
It's 7 p.m. on Wednesday evening. It's time for the biggest non-league football debate in the country. Search official BOTN and get involved with tonight's show.
So very good evening and welcome to tonight's show, jam-packed as always with non-league football talk between now and 9 o'clock this evening. We're going to talk all about competition in non-league football tonight over the next couple of hours. As usual, plenty of other stuff for you to get your teeth into. We do our non-league football quiz. Got plenty of pundits ready to play the quiz in the studio. We'll also do Super Sub a little bit later on, and we're going to review and preview plenty of the fixtures from around non-league during the past week, and of course look ahead to the weekend, including the Bostik League show next weekend, which sees Leiston go up against Wingate and Finchley. Adam is ready to take your messages on social media. Finally worked out how to use Insta Story a little bit earlier. Let us know.
Have your say. Get in touch on social media. Just search official BOTN.
So very good evening, welcome to the show tonight. Delighted to say that James Cummins joins me, and we've also got Frank Wilson and Ryan Richfold as well. Good evening to you all.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, very well, thank you. Let's start with you, Ryan, first time on our show. I'm going to ask you the million-dollar question. Which club do you play for, and do you know yet?
Not yet. Probably the next few days I'll know where I'm going to be at. Last club was at Ashford United. I left them a couple of weeks ago. Currently nursing an injury, but next few days hopefully I can confirm something.
Now, I know that you're up at university, aren't you, in Stoke?
Yes, I am, yeah.
So is it Ossett Town that you're going to sign for?
There's a possibility.
I feel like we're good friends with Ossett Town on the show.
Are you looking for a shirt?
Yeah, I think
we still are looking for a shirt. We tried a couple of weeks ago to get a shirt. Have we had any movement on that, Adam?
I've been in touch with the soon-to-be chairman of Ossett United, and we're stalled in negotiations for an Ossett United shirt.
No.
What colours do they wear? Do we know?
I can't think.
Blue.
Actually, is it blue?
The new club is going to play in blue and dark blue.
Can we get a friendly sorted out between Tooting and Mitcham United and Ossett United? Perhaps you could go up there for the week. There's some training facilities.
We went to Barnsley last pre-season, so where's further? Do we know?
I think it's roughly
Barnsley,
the same region, because it's West Yorkshire, isn't it? Ossett United.
I thought it was near Derby.
It's near Leeds.
Is it near Leeds?
It's near Leeds.
Okay.
Oh, right.
What's further? Leeds is further.
Barnsley, yeah, it is. I think you're right. Anyone disagree? Official BOTN. Let us know. Right, let's talk about the fixtures that have gone from this weekend. Really exciting as always. That time of year, James, where every fixture seems to count across non-league. Yeah,
absolutely. We basically had a look at 3 fixtures from the Bostik Prem which really stood out, really. Main story to talk about is Folkestone Invicta. They are top of the Bostik Premier League after a 3-0 away win at Harrow Borough. Adam Youssef scoring twice. 23 goals now for him for the season. He's been prolific for them. And then Joseph Taylor scoring just before full time to give the away side all 3 points. But at present, Folkestone Invicta, a bit of an outside bet. They went top at the weekend.
So let's talk about them. Obviously, they've been sort of under the radar, Frank, this season. Obviously, having a great season, got some good players, the likes of Ian Draycott, very experienced. I know that Billericay have a lot of games in hand still. We'll come to their form in a minute, but to go top for them must have been a really good moment.
Yeah, I mean they've been sort of at the top end of the scale all season, really. Have quite regular dialogue with Neil Cugley there. Obviously, having played them twice already ourselves this season, and they've been really impressive. I think for us as a team, out of all the teams that we've faced this season, I'd probably say that Folkestone were probably our most difficult opponents, and we've had some very indifferent games. But Adi Youssef, goal scorer at the weekend, James just mentioned, he's had a fantastic season. And they've kept a real good, solid side together, Folkestone, since coming up from the division below. So pleased to see Neil and the team doing well.
What makes them, you said them your most difficult opponents, what makes them stand out from the rest and so good?
I think it's their solidarity in some parts. They seem to have a real good streamline of consistency through their team. Keeping players and retaining players together, and it shows when you play against them. You know, they're a difficult team strategically. They can mix it up. They've sort of more conventionally been 4-4-2 in the division below when they won the league. They've changed it this season, and they've enjoyed playing with the 3 at the back. They've signed a couple of really good players. Sammy Hassler from Herne Bay is a really good player for them, and they've just recruited well. And as I say, Neil's just kept the consistency of the side together, and they're a hard-working side, and they've just been successful from that, really.
Ryan, it's not Folkestone Invicta that you're talking to, is it?
No.
Can I just, if I do guess at some point during the show, if I guess the right team name, will you tell us?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of teams to get through.
Let's move on to the next game from the weekend, James.
The next game from the weekend was a really lively encounter at Harlow Town, and it was Harlow Town 4, Met Police 3. And of course, Met Police played last night. We'll talk about them a little bit later in the Velocity Trophy. But again, a really lively game. The hosts were 1-0 up before the break thanks to Jared Small in the 22nd minute. Then the goals came thick and fast. Police went 2-1 ahead via Luke Robertson and Tom Bird before Sam Harlow converted from the spot for Harlow to make it 2-2 just after 60 minutes. 2 minutes later, Police were ahead again through Gavin James. However, it was Harlow Town that were to make the policeman's lot not a very happy one, with a brace from Matt Roy sealing the points in an exciting encounter at Harlow Arena. Couple of difficult games coming up for both Harlow and for Met Police. Of course, Harlow go to Merston away, and Met Police will then take on Margate. So a really difficult tie for both sides coming into the weekend.
Yeah, obviously your eye, Frank, will be on Harlow's form. Win for them at the weekend, still pretty tight at the bottom. Yeah. It's one of these debates that we have in football all the time. Is it better to have points on the board or games in hand? It's the same, similar at the top, isn't it?
Points on the board at the minute, to be honest. I think Harry, if he was here tonight, would probably testify to the same sort of thing, given the fixture congestion and the weather playing a big part in that. I know that for ourselves in particular, we've played, I think, most games this season, or we've sort of been at the top end of games played this season as opposed to everybody else, and at the minute it's just about trying to accumulate as many points as we can. But great win for Harlow. We're down there with them at the minute, and very impressive to get that victory against Met Police, who've been a strong side this season.
Next game on the list is who you're going to at the weekend. Leiston against Kingstonian. Of course, Kingstonian were meant to have played Staines on Monday night. That game was called off. However, on Saturday, it was a good result for Leiston. 3-1 winners against the K. It was an unhappy afternoon for them as they went The visitors didn't take too long to find a net. They only took 120 seconds to score through Christy Finch. Well, great name that is for a footballer, Christy Finch, scoring after 120 seconds. That was what it was as they went into the break. The advantage was doubled thanks to a rather unlucky Rob Bartley own goal in 75 minutes. The K's did draw a goal back through Toby Ayala with immediate effect a minute later, but Leiston grabbed all 3 points as Jake Reed put the result beyond doubt in the 86th minute.
Yeah, obviously for Leiston, James, they're just outside the playoffs now, played 36, just a few points away. They're last season, strong team in the league. Again this year, they've got the likes of Matt Blake, as we mentioned. They'll be thinking they can get into the playoffs. Yeah,
definitely. I can look at the other teams which are ahead of them. Staines Town, of course, just ahead of them with the point of 60 points. Hendon, who managed to draw last night against Merstham, 1-1. They're on 62 points. So they will be thinking they've got a chance here to go ahead and try and get a playoff place. The only downside for Leiston is that the amount of games that they've played. They've played 36. When you look at the light of Staines Town, they've got 34. Hendon, 35. Billericay, 30. I think it will be the fact that they've played more games than the teams that are ahead of them that could be a bit of a disadvantage for them going into the playoff places.
When we just look, Frank, at the top of the table, we mentioned about having games in hand and what's better at the moment. Leatherhead, 32 they've played, 3 less than Hendon in 5th position, and Leatherhead have 57 points at the moment, so it's really close.
It is, and of course momentum's key as well. It's, you know, when you factor in the games in hand, you've got to make sure that you're going into those games in hand in good form. Leatherhead are an example of a team that went through a brilliant run, and Sammy and the boys down there have been doing well of late as well. So having sort of 3 or 4 games in hand of the teams above them should serve them in good stead, really. But like you say, it depends on the fixtures. I'm pretty sure that in some cases these teams are going to have to be playing against each other. I haven't seen the fixture list for the up and coming weeks, but possibly some interesting games between those sides as well.
Another game to look form from the Bosset Premier League, of course, was a game which I just mentioned, which was Merstham versus Hendon. That finished 1-1. The home side managed to retain a point against playoff chasing Hendon at the Moatside Arena last night. The visitors took the lead on 20 minutes through somebody who hasn't scored in a while, but he's managed to get himself back on the score sheet again. Talismanic Nico Muir managed to score, but the host managed to level the game just before half-time through Simon Cooper, but neither side could take the added advantage and gain 3 points, so it was point shared in Surrey last night.
Yeah, Merstham, one of these teams that we've talked about a fair bit on the show, and they've missed players throughout the season. Play possibly, obviously it's an open sort of debate, but some of the best football in the league when they're on form against the Hendon side. To really, you have to say, where would they be without Nico Muir?
Yeah, he's had a prolific season, hasn't he, Nico? Attracted the interest of a few professional clubs. I know that's something that we discussed last time I was on the show. I think speaking to Gary Mack at Hendon, I think he was on trial at QPR, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's correct.
And, you know, credit to him. You know, credit to players like Nico that have been prolific in their positions and attracting attention of professional clubs. And certainly one of the reasons why Hendon have been doing as well as they have. But great to see Hendon getting results even when Nico hasn't been scoring. I know that he hasn't been as prolific in sort of the last maybe 8 to 10 games. So good to still see Hendon getting results and goal scorers in other positions.
Yeah. Having a look at the lower leagues of the Bostik League, looking at the North Division from games from last night. Bowes and Pitsea 4-0 winners at home against Romford. That's a big result for them. Massive result for Canvey Island. 5-0 winners against Brentwood Town. An absolute demolition for the home side. Not such a good result last night for Jody and Haybrid Swiss. They lost 3-2 against Potters Bar Town. But again, Potters Bar Town are a decent side in that league and playing pretty well as we speak. Going into Bostik South, a good result last night for Walton Casuals, 2-0 away win for them, and another tight game for Malcolm Porter's South Park side, although it was unlucky for them last night, going down 3-2 losers against Carshalton Athletic.
Also, another big win yesterday for Havant and Waterlooville in the National League South, and that division, as we've mentioned a few times on the show, really is one of those leagues that you keep your eye on. Fascinating to see who is going to make both the playoff positions. Of course, an extra couple of playoff positions in that league. There's going to be a quarter final with a couple of byes and the champions. And at the moment, it's Havant and Waterlooville, who, of course, James, were the winners of the Bostik Premier last year.
Yes, absolutely. They're a fantastic team, and fair play to everybody there at that club. They've just hit the ground running since they've gone back into the National League South. It's a credit to them for bouncing back from what was really a disastrous couple of years for the South Coast club, but they're just proving their worth once again, climbing up the table and proving to be one of the real favourites within that league. And that league, if you look at the amount of teams that are towards the top of the table, it's a really exciting league to look into.
I think it is testament to them as well, the fact they're above Dartford.
Absolutely.
I played against Dartford last year twice, and they tore us apart both times, and they played some of the best football I think I've seen in that division. So for them to be above Dartford, with their facilities as well, Dartford have got, is fantastic, really.
Yeah, massive achievement for them.
We're going to move on now to talk about competition in non-league football, all types of competition. We started talking a little bit about the signing rules and transfer signings on our transfer deadline show. Tonight we're going to kind of continue that on in the first part. We're going to clear up something that we got asked a lot of questions about and we didn't have time to finish last time out, which is all about the dual signing and registration in non-league. I'm going to explain a little bit about how it works before we start talking. So if you don't have any idea on what dual signing is, you might do after this. Dual signing is a situation where a player who is not under contract with any club can sign playing registration forms with teams playing in the different leagues. Not divisions, so different leagues. A contract player, on the other hand, is guaranteed payment from their club, even if they're not playing and cannot be dual signed. So there's a little bit of a definition behind it. But James, why would you decide to dual sign a player?
It's a bit different from signing a player or loaning a player, as a footballer can still play for that particular club, although one is in a higher league or paying for more money, it tends to get the first choice over a particular said player. It's used in a way, in effect, to try and keep a player fit or just to keep somebody playing. So if they're not getting games within their particular club, if they're in a higher league, they can then go to another club which they're dual signed for and they can get game time or they can recover. It's something which we don't really see in the higher leagues, such as the Premier League, the Championship, League 1, League 2, but it is extensively used in the lower tier, and it is a valuable tool to have if you've got players that need the game time and need the recuperation period of playing games. That's where a dual registration really comes to a benefit.
But it is a little bit controversial as well, James, because whilst there's many positive ideas behind it, we're going to ask it whether there needs to be more regulations. Jody Brown mentioned it on the show a few weeks ago. He said there's nothing to really stop you using this system all the time, and there was a really good example of it when we looked at the Hawley Town and Chichester City game in the FA Vars, and they lost that game, Hawley, and Glenn Stevens felt that it was due to Chichester dual signing players for that one game. So there's just one example of how perhaps with the regulations that are in place you can really use that to its max.
Yeah, absolutely. You can use it to the fullest example you can have, but there's nothing to stop you from doing that. Although many people might think, right, it's not necessarily the right thing to do by bringing in players for one game. At the moment, there is nothing to stop you from using that rule or utilising that. So you could easily say, right, I need, if you know somebody from a higher league club or your contacts are very well versed in a higher league club, there's nothing to stop you from saying, right, I need to borrow 2 or 3 players for a couple of games. Do you know any players that need recuperation time playing games or need game time? Can I borrow them for a few games? And with the Hawley Town example, with Chichester City, they use that to their fullest advantage. There is nothing there to stop them from using that at the moment, but some people may say, this isn't quite right, there needs to be a change with this.
Glenn Stevens, the Hawley manager, says he said to a local paper afterwards, it seems strange that you play your trade week in, week out at step 4, and then for one particular game or a couple of games a year play step 5. It seems against the spirit of the competition, but maybe that's for the FA to look at. I don't blame Chichester for doing it. Does he have a point? Do the FA need to take a look at it?
I think the sort of the other side of it is being cup tied. So I think you have to accept that if you're going to dual register a player, the parent club of that player need to accept that, you know, they're going to be cup tied if you're nominating them to go and play for another team in a cup competition that you play in. I see both sides of it. I mean, personally, from my perspective as a manager, we've used the dual registration process quite frequently in the last 2 or 3 seasons. We've got players at the minute that are dual registered at clubs, and we've used it both ways, recruitment and sending players out. But I can certainly see the argument there from the manager in terms of playing a cup competition and teams utilising that rule for the teams in the leagues above just to strengthen sides. It does seem like a slightly unfair playing field, but both teams have got the opportunity to do it. So.
Yeah. From a manager's point of view, Frank, though, irrespective of what the FA could do to perhaps tighten the rules or re-look at that, as a manager, the pros and cons of using that and bringing players into a squad that are dual signed, or loaning them out, for example, letting them register for somebody else.
Yeah, I think at non-league football level in general, it's that sort of that old argument. Players want to play. I think every manager has the same problem. It's keeping everybody satisfied and everybody competitive and getting a sort of a fair crack at a whip. And we try and use the dual registration policy to try and give fringe players or players that need games time, not just for their own benefit, but for the benefit of the club, because we'd like to be able to recall midfielders if they've been injured, but after a period of time where they've actually been playing games, and if we can't offer that to them, then them having the opportunity to go and sort of play elsewhere is a benefit to them and a benefit to us. And like I say, we've done that on quite a consistent basis, Ben. And it benefits the clubs in the tiers below or in the different tiers where you're able to share players with them and have them experience your own players. So I think that there's an added benefit for many reasons, and it's something that I would want to try and keep in place as a manager.
Ryan, as a player, is it something that you know about, think about, and like the idea of, or have you ever experienced it?
I have experienced it. I think when I left Crawley, I went to Loxwood. I ended up dual signing with Worthing at the time, so I went up a division. At the time, it was quite awkward because I wanted to play for both teams. The Loxwood manager was Mark Beard, who I'd known from my Crawley youth team days. I didn't want to let him down, but at the same time, Worthing showed interest in me. I didn't want to let them down, so I was at one point playing on Tuesdays and on a Thursday or Wednesday and a Saturday. Yeah. So from a player's point of view, if you're not strong enough like I wasn't to say no to someone, then you almost end up getting burnout. But I think you need to be playing games, as Frank said. You want to be playing as many games as you can as a player. And if you're not playing for one club and you're on non-contract, you don't want to necessarily leave that club, but you still need to play. And going away and learning your trade, more so for younger players as well. You want it's basically like a loan deal basically for a football league club. It's the non-league equivalent of that, and it's important for development, I believe. Can learn a lot from it.
Do you feel when you're in that situation, did you feel like you were really a part of two squads, or was it almost that because you're playing for two different teams, it felt like that you weren't quite integrated into both?
Oh no, I got a lot of stick from both sets of squads when I turn up for match day for one team and then turn up for match day for another team. I got quite a lot of stick for that. But
did you ever wear the wrong tracksuit?
Once I wore the Loxwood at Worthing. That didn't go down too well. I found myself on the bench that day.
Oh no.
But no, you feel part. I think it's up to the players to make you feel part of the squad, and the players understand the situation. And obviously, from Lox's point of view, the players realised that I wanted to try and bet myself. And the Worthing players obviously understood that I just wanted to play games. So whilst I was as long as I was playing well for both teams, nothing said. But if your performance starts to dip, then that's when you start getting questions.
James, this issue that came up with the cup competitions, is there any way that the FA could look at that to perhaps stop that happening? Or if you're going to have this system, you can't police it in that way?
I think it's a tough one to kind of police, because with the fact you can bring in players, again, there's no regulation at this present time to stop you from having players who are dual registered or not in the cup competitions. I think there needs to be a massive, if there is going to be any kind of change towards this, there would need to be a massive review, not just of dual registration or people who are dual signed for a different club. There'll have to be a whole rift of changes alongside that as well. So potentially, if you try to change one thing, such as the dual registration of players, people will want to have other stuff changed as well. So it's difficult to regulate, especially at this league, considering that so many clubs and so many players actually benefit from this. So there's more of a positive outcome from this rather than the negative side. So it might be problematic to try and deal with.
When we talked about the example of Hawley and Chichester, is that when we see perhaps not the system at its worst, because that's doing it a bit of disrespect, but where you've got teams from that level having players from the sort of National League level? That if we get one at the smallest level, one at the top level of non-league, that's where you really can use these players, because they're not going to play in those competitions. Those that are playing at National League level, they're not going to play in the FA Vars, so there's no, like you said about being cup tied.
Yeah.
So that's where teams like Chichester, perhaps with the links to the clubs closest to them, can use that.
Yeah, you're right there, Ben. Again, from that example that you used earlier, I didn't know sort of how much the teams differentiated in terms of the tiers, but we've done it more conventionally, sort of either the same tier or same standard of football but different branding. So obviously we look at the Eva Stick League, for example, because you can't dual register within the Bostik division between the two clubs, but we've never done it with more than one gap between, or one level between the two clubs. I would have imagined that in that example, I'm not sure if we know it, but they would have been young players or not youth team players, but maybe players that were sort of on the peripherals of first team. But no, I mean, it's a difficult one to try and police, like James said. It's difficult to try and sort of stipulate how you guide it, really. And I'm in favour of keeping it in.
I think it's hard because on non-contracts, it's hard to then police, like you say, where players go, because you're on a non-contract for a reason. And non-contracts allow both parties to leave without any pay-up. So how can the FA put too much effort into controlling that? I don't know. And I think if they're going to change it, it's got to be across the board. They've got to sit down and virtually write a new rule book for it. Yeah. It's not just something they can just change overnight.
Are we seeing more contracts being issued at non-league level than ever, which perhaps means that we are getting away from this at certain levels?
Definitely. I think with the influx of money in non-league football, especially at our division in the Bostik Premier League, you're seeing more and more use of contracts. Folks, and we talked about at the beginning of the show, and I know, speaking to Neil, that primarily they've put most players in their squad on contracts this season. Part of the reason that is, I believe it to be the sort of the geographical side of things, so where they're located as a club and their recruitment process, attracting players from outside of Kent that have to commute to training and commit to the club, and protecting those players. And we're seeing more and more use of it. Unfortunately, we're in a position as a football club where we're just not able to sort of commit to the financial side of things as freely as some other clubs are. So our players aren't as protected as others in terms of contract use, but we still do have maybe 5 or 6 players on contract ourselves, the majority of which are academy grads that we're looking to obviously further grow and develop.
So let's wrap this up. Should the rules be changed, James, or is this really just nitpicking and actually it works quite well?
I think it's basically nitpicking, like what the guys have just said. There's a lot of positives that come out of it, especially in non-contractual terms of players, and I think if you try to regulate it, you would have more harm than good come from it. And I think the teams that really benefit from it, which is a lot of teams in the non-league pyramid, whatever step you're at, do benefit from it. So my final word would be leave it well alone.
Let us know what you think. Adam is busy, as always, counting his character limit to try and get tweets out tonight. But if you want to get in touch, it's official BOTN across social media. Right now, we're going to do our non-league football quiz, and we're going to see who's got the best non-league brain in the studio.
Join in with the biggest non-league football quiz in the country. Tweet your answers to @officialBOTN.
I'm sure it is the biggest non-league football quiz in the country. I don't know of too many that happen every week. It's only 5 questions, but they say it's quality over quantity. So let's see what we've got tonight. Has everyone got pens and ready to go?
Yep, I'm good to go.
Question 1.
First question tonight. True or false? Calais Racing Union football officials have considered joining the English football structure after a disagreement with the French Football Federation over the new regionalisation of the French Champion National League, which will now be split east to west rather than north to south. And I'm not repeating the question.
I'm looking at you, Adam.
It's a great question.
I'm looking at you.
Have you been concentrating this week,
Who
James?
wrote these, by the way?
Him.
I wrote these.
Yeah,
He did.
You have
Okay.
a lot of time on your hands, or
A lot of time on my hands, I'm not gonna lie.
Right,
Too much.
let's get into the answer. Have we all got an answer?
Yep.
It's a true or false question. Okay.
Yeah, cool.
Question 2.
Leamington FC of the National League North are nicknamed what? Is it A, gear sticks, B, brakes, or C, pigeons? Leamington FC of the National League North have the nickname of A, gear sticks, B, brakes, or C, pigeons. Which do you think is correct? Official BOTN on social media as always for your answers.
Question 3.
How many Bostik clubs play on an island? How many Bostik clubs play on an island?
And
Tough questions
that's
tonight.
a tough. Oh, hang on.
You can come back to that during the ad breaks.
Question 4.
Hemel Hempstead of the National South have a monarch on their crest, but which monarch is it? Is it Elizabeth II, Henry V, or Queen Victoria? Hemel Hempstead of the National South have a monarch on their crest, but which monarch is it? Elizabeth II? Is that Henry V?
The 8th.
The 8th. Okay, right. That shows my skills.
VIII.
Out the door now.
I'm going.
Out the door.
And Queen Victoria. There we go. They're your 3 options. Well, in fact, we'll give you 4. You can have Elizabeth II, Henry V, Henry VIII, or Queen Victoria. It's entirely up to you which one you put down. I know which one my money's not on right now.
Question 5.
Colne Bay of the Northern Premier League Division 1 play in which country? Wales, Scotland, or England? Colne Bay of the Northern Premier League Division 1 play in which country? Wales, Scotland, or England? You have the advert breaks to let us know your scores. I'm going to go and learn Roman numerals, and we'll be back. We'll be back very shortly tonight after this, and I'm taking it by all of the banter that's here in the studio that we're going to have a really good high-scoring quiz tonight.
oh yeah.
You're listening to Back of the Net, powered by Promote UK. We're really good at what we do.
Times are changing. We now live in a digital world where 9 out of 10 people use the internet to look for local goods and services. Whether in front of a computer at home or on a mobile phone on the go, people expect to find what they want, when they want, quickly and easily. The question is, can your business be found? At Promote UK, we specialise in getting local businesses found online. One highly affordable package will give your business a stunning mobile responsive website, which we guarantee to get to the first page of Google and keep it there. And we take care of everything: copywriting, design, hosting. We even offer unlimited amends all year round for no extra charge. So, whilst you're busy focusing on your business, we're busy making sure it can be found online all year round. Start your Google Page One journey today with a free online health check by visiting promoteUKLimited.com. Promote UK. We're really good at what we do.
From Premiership to Playground, MH Goals has everything you need for an outstanding football match, including aluminium and steel football goals, nets, line marking machines, team shelters, boot wipers, and much more. Buy with confidence direct from the manufacturer with great prices available across our whole range of sports equipment. What's more, we offer fantastic discounts for all FA affiliated clubs. We pride ourselves on British manufacturing. We make all our football goals here in the UK and conform to the latest British and European safety standards. So call MH Goals direct on 01502 711 298 or visit our online store at mhgoals.com.
Are you a budding footballer sitting your GCSEs next summer, wondering what to do next? Want to play football while studying for qualifications that will get you into university? Dorking Wanderers Football Club are now recruiting for their football academy for 2018-2019. Based at their brand new state-of-the-art Meadowbank Stadium, you'll be playing in the National Conference Youth Alliance against the best clubs in the area each week, as well as the prestigious FA Youth Cup. You'll be studying BTEC Level 3 qualifications exams, equivalent to 3 A-levels, alongside professional coaching from our UEFA qualified coaches. For information on trials and open evenings, visit dorkingwanderers.com/academy or email academy@dorkingwanderers.com.
Head to backoftheNetSouth.co.uk tomorrow morning for video highlights and full match reaction of today's games. Back to your favourite non-league football show, powered by Promote UK. We're really good at what we do. Back of the Net, where it matters.
So welcome back to tonight's show. We're in the middle of the non-league football quiz, which, as always, is extremely eventful. Before we carry on, we just want to clear something up. Henry V, just so that if you're interested, Henry V was the King of England from 1413 until his death at the age of 36 in 1422.
Too young, tragic.
He was the second English monarch of the House of Lancaster. That was Henry V.
It's too soon for any banner on that one.
And Henry VIII, if you don't know your history, good job you didn't do it at uni, was the King of England from 1509 till he died in 1547. Henry was the second Tudor monarch, succeeding his father, Henry VII. And of course, he was famous for having his many wives and also having a rather plush gaff at Hampton Court.
Do you know what the rhyme was?
Oh.
Divorced, beheaded, dived. Divorced, beheaded, survived. Bit of history for you there.
And that is why you're the quizmaster.
How many wives did he have, James?
6.
Well played. Anne of Cleves, my favourite wife of Henry VIII.
Before we move on,
Where are we? Yeah.
What are we doing?
do we know how many wives Henry V had? We'll look that up.
2.
Okay, it's fine.
2.
Okay. Yeah.
Messy divorce, first one.
Right. Let's move on. Let's move on to the non-league football quiz.
It's time to see who has the best non-league football brain in the studio. Tweet your answers to @officialBOTN.
Okay, right. Let's see how we did.
Question 1.
True or false? Calais Racing Union football officials have considered joining the English football structure after a disagreement with the French Football Federation over the new regionalisation of the French Champion National League, which will now be split east to west rather than north to south. I think Adam just wrote that question, so see if I could get it out in one. James, what did you get? True or false?
I can't think that's got to be true. I think it's false.
Ryan, what did you put?
Oh, true all day long.
Yeah, such a mouthful. I thought it had to be true, otherwise it'd be a complete waste of
That's a
time.
waste. I
Who
don't
would
think
make
it's right.
that up? Who would make
I
that
don't
up?
think it's right. I think it's false.
Okay, I can tell you that it was false.
Yes.
Who would make that up?
Adam sat and made that. Adam,
They would be a lot closer than Guernsey, though.
Adam, was it based on a truth? Was there some truth to this story?
This question came from the inner workings of my brain, and there is no truth in it.
I'm worried about your brain.
Guernsey are a lot further away than Calais, and I thought it would be workable. I don't know if Calais Racing Union Football Club are interested. They're a real football club. If they're interested in joining the Bostic League, get in touch.
Did you get this through Football Manager by any chance? It's just like a random team that you found on Football Manager.
I've got a lot of time on my hands.
Fair enough.
Adam, I'm really struggling here because I thought, right, if this is, because obviously I've got the answer sheet, so I thought, right, this is false, it's fine, because there obviously was, there is this split from east to west to north to south.
No, there isn't. That is a lie.
Right. So there is this disagreement, but he's seen this in the paper, maybe a French paper. I don't know how you spend your weekends, but he's seen this in the paper. He's just sort of, I'm going to use this as a quiz question, but this has literally come from your...
I was in a brasserie in Paris, and I thought, this is the question.
Did you just find a copy of L'Equipe in the nearest petrol station by any chance?
I have no idea where this question came from.
Final thing on this, the Champion National League, does it have...
league? That is a real league.
Right, good, yeah. Does it have a problem?
Fake news.
Is there east to west and north to south? Has this ever been an issue?
Our French viewers. That's one for our French viewers, really. If
Yeah.
regionalisation of the French leagues is a problem. I imagine it is, because it's a bigger country than ours.
Are you
So-
sick and tired of playing against Dunkirk every 4 weeks?
Dunkirk having to travel to Brest for a midweek away game. That's not what you want, USL Dunkirk fans.
And next season on Tuesday nights, we'll be starting the non-league French football show. Join us for that one.
Question 2.
Leamington FC of the National League North are nicknamed which of the following? Is it gear sticks, brakes, or pigeons? What do you think it is, James?
I went for brakes.
Ryan?
Oh, brakes, yeah.
I just said pigeons because it was different to a car part. So
Okay, the answer is brakes. Now, we've
yes.
already established from the first question how your mind works. Is there any reason with the 3 options, or?
I thought 2 are mechanical related, and I thought I'd throw pigeons in as because it's a bit rogue, and I thought it's fun the idea that fans would come on you pigeons, you know.
Come on you pigeons.
I just like the idea of a football club being called the Pigeons. If I founded my own, that'd be their nickname.
And just checking,
Up the
these are
pigeons.
all true. These are all.
Deary
Is it
me.
actual
Oh, that
things?
is actually true. They are
Deary
called the
me.
Brakes.
Okay, brilliant. I don't know. How did they get their nickname?
Big mechanical industry in Leamington.
Brilliant. That's
That
all we
might
need
not
to-
be true. I've made that up, but there
Oh
might be.
my god, I don't know.
Nearby, actually. Nearby Link Coventry.
Can we get him seen to by someone?
Too much cow.
Question 3.
The third question tonight. How many Bostik clubs play on an island? James, what did you come up with? You were working really hard.
I think I've tripped up massively on this one. Island-wise, there were only 2 teams that could stick in my mind: Guernsey and Canvey Island.
Same here. That's
2.
what I got, yeah.
I came up with 2.
2.
Frank?
2.
Okay, the answer is all 72 clubs because Britain is an island.
You get.
Well, it's
You
true.
get.
is
Britain
true.
is an island. You should be
Stupid of us.
concentrating
Yeah.
at school.
I did concentrate at school. At least my mind's not like cowpole.
Famously, we are an island.
Okay.
Think about it.
Next question.
Can
Right.
I just quickly butt in?
Shocking. Can't believe no one got that.
The
He's only gone and googled it.
the Yarrawonga Football Club are nicknamed the Pigeons.
That is
and they are an Australian rules football club, and they play in the Ovens and Murray Football League.
that is amazing.
Ovens and Murray.
Can-
Go on, you Pigeons.
Can Back of the Net sponsor them next season?
Or,
That's what I want to know.
more importantly, I think in your role, you could reach out and get a shirt.
Yes.
If someone could ship a shirt, that would be
Pigeons-
amazing.
a
Or
pigeon
send me
shirt.
over to Australia for a 2-week holiday, maybe.
Do you think we could? Can we clip this piece up, put it on social media, and then we'll do that? What do we want? Start a hashtag, and that we can get this going.
I reckon this Osset, we're coming close on negotiations there. That's in Yorkshire.
Okay.
Australia is a new field for us.
I think we should stick with Osset. I think we're getting close with Osset. So
But what was the team name again,
Future.
Frank?
Yarrawonga.
The Yarrawonga FC.
Okay.
the
Get
Mighty Pigeons.
get a hashtag. Do whatever you need to do with them, and we'll clip this up, and we'll see if we can
Click
get a
this
shirt.
up.
This will be
Oh,
brilliant.
it's a great crest as well.
Okay.
Brilliant.
God, I could spend the whole show talking about Yarrawonga now.
Lovely crest, apparently.
Question 4.
Right, I've lost where we are. Well, we are actually at the Henry V question. Hemel Hempstead of the National South have a monarch on their crest. But which monarch is it? Okay, James, what do you think?
Henry VIII.
Okay, you did get options. They were Elizabeth II, they were Henry V, Henry VIII, or Queen Victoria. So you're going for Henry VIII. Ryan, what are you going for?
I went for Victoria.
Okay, Frank?
The 8th as well.
So just to recap, no one went for Henry V.
No.
No one went for that.
Anyone? Liam? Remy?
Rookie error.
No? Okay, I can tell you that it was Henry VIII.
Yeah.
Big Hemel Hempstead fan, Henry VIII.
Okay, final
away.
question.
Question 5.
Colwyn Bay of the Northern Premier League Division 1 play in which country? Wales, Scotland or England? Colwyn Bay of the Northern Premier League Division 1 play in which country, James?
Wales.
Has to be Wales. Has to be.
Wales.
Well, you knew that was Wales, but you didn't know Britain was an island.
And we know that you don't have the same answer for any one question. I think we established that last week. Okay, right. Remy's going to tell us how we got on tonight's quiz. Remy, how did everyone do?
Yeah, no, that was a very entertaining quiz. I think you all did pretty well considering the task that was asked of you. In joint second place, we've got Frank and Ryan, who both got 2. And then top of the table today is James. 4 out of 5 for James.
Nice.
He
Yes.
cheated.
Fair play. It was a tough quiz, so.
It was tough. It
Yeah.
was tough.
But he doesn't know Britain's an island.
Shush.
I didn't know when you put them to me, when you sent them over. I was just like, oh God, that's really good. I knew that no one would get it. I didn't get it. It's just one of those things you really think about. And it's just like,
Got
you
an
just
evil
don't go
mind.
outside the box.
Got an evil mind.
We'll get you back.
Join us for next week's quiz.
Yeah, I thought it was a thoroughly entertaining quiz. And do let us know. So, official BOTN across social media. Plenty more to come on tonight's show. Right now, we're going to continue talking about competition in non-league football. And in particular, the full strength policy and fielding weakened side. We talked a little bit about cup competitions and the benefits, perhaps, of the loan systems. This fielding weakened sides is really interesting, James. The full strength policy for the season 2016-17 competition was 5 out of the starting lineup must have started the previous or following game. a reduction from 6 in the season 2015-16, or 5 of the starting 11 who have made the most starting appearances in the league and domestic cup competitions fixtures during that current season. This is a really bizarre one that's come up in years past and was probably a bit easier to police, because now we really are in an age in all football where the squad is mentioned so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with the growth in social media, you can't sort of get away from the fact that you're going to play a different side. Everyone was expecting you could get away with it because you weren't going to know what the squad is. Now, because more people know about the squad and there's more advance notice about the squad, you can't get away with it. For example, in 2016, the Football League announced fines totalling £60,000 for 12 clubs who contravened the rules of fielding their strongest squads in the Checker Trade Trophy. So Luton and Portsmouth were both fined £15,000 apiece on 3 separate occasions. Also, Bradford, Blackpool, Bristol Rovers, MK Dons, Millwall, Charlton, Peterborough, Sheffield United, Southend and Fleetwood Town were all fined £3,000 each for doing exactly the same things. There's so many clubs are still doing it, but now, like we've already mentioned, it's not that easy to get away with that nowadays.
This is, Frank, it's got to be one of the most bizarre things. And we've had it in press conferences where managers have just said things like, I pick the team. Are you telling me that those players aren't good enough to play for my football club? It's one of those rules that surely is really difficult to...
Yeah, it is. I think it's particularly difficult from a manager's perspective because you've got a duty of care for your players, and it's hard to be as, I don't know if honest or truthful is the right way of saying it, but to be put in a position where you're having to justify your squad selection and you're trying to differentiate between what outside sources consider to be your strongest players, and you're having to come to terms with that as a player, and you're being given a chance to prove your shirt, kind of defeats the object of signing as many players or even having what we call a squad. How are you supposed to create a sense of competitiveness if you're always trying to side towards players that are more renowned as first string players? It is a very, very peculiar rule.
There's been some really good examples over the years of teams that have done this. I think we mentioned before the show Wolves, who did it in a really important game for other clubs, and because they were safe, I think I'm right in saying they fielded a really weakened side.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think they were fined. So there are some big examples of it. Spurs made 11 changes for their starting 11 against Rochdale compared to Juventus. Does that mean that Spurs should be fined for that? Did they get fined?
But when they still win so convincingly, it's very hard to make the argument you've weakened your squad. I mean, the manager put out a team that won the game convincingly.
But if we go by the policy, which says what the rules are, the full strength policy means for 5 of the starting lineup must have started the previous or following game. That means that Spurs have contravened that.
Yeah, well, by technicality it does, yeah.
And famously, Arsenal used to do this in the League Cup. They used to make all the changes in the League Cup, and it was something that came up quite a lot. You can imagine Arsene Wenger in a press conference, James, if he was in there, the kind of answers that every manager would give. You just imagine Wenger sitting there, let's do it. Arsene, you've fielded 11 different players, and in fact this happened against Nottingham Forest. You've broken all the rules in football. Is this something that you consider to be acceptable?
Yes, I think it is acceptable because the players that I have in the squad, they need to play games, and you cannot just leave them on the bench or loan them out towards side where they play 1 or 2 games and they come back unhappy. So you need to play them in any kind of tournament. So no, I do not believe this is unethical or wrong. If it is good for Arsenal, then it is good for the club.
Arsene, are you ever going to sign a decent centre-back?
I already have a good centre-backs. It is not my fault that the club is still in shock over Scolacci. The fact we thought he could run and jump and do any kind of defending, but no player after him has been that good. So I still have good relationship with my defenders, and we don't need anybody else to come in.
For legal reasons, that wasn't really Arsene Wenger.
Uncanny.
But slightly South African at the start.
But it's a good point when you look at some of the big clubs seem to get away with it more because the argument is that they've got bigger squads that are of real quality. If you look at the likes of Manchester United, although many Man United fans won't think that after last night, and Manchester City arguably could have two equal squads. But you, by the letter of the law, you can't be then saying that Tooting and Mitcham United, if they make 6 changes, that those players aren't good enough to play.
No, it's difficult, and I'm pretty sure that there's lots of things that come into it that sort of argue for and against. I mean, player injuries and trying to keep players fit. I'm pretty sure that, you know, if Harry Kane or high-profile players that have been the most consistent or most capped players for their clubs, if they were to pick up an injury in a game, or they could be rested, which could prevent injury, then I think that would be an argue for having been able to make changes at your own free will. And like I say, Ben, I think it takes away the selection process that you are given as a manager. It's difficult.
Are there too many competitions? We've talked about this before, and not just that. When you look at the likes of, as we said, City and United, only because they're first and second at the moment in the Premier Division, everybody says that there are too many competitions at the top level, and we know that there are a lot of competitions. When you look at the likes of Billericay now playing in the amount of competitions that they are, does that just mean that you aren't going to be able to field, that we're not going to be able to stick to this rule anymore because there are too many competitions? Definitely.
And I think, from our own perspective as a football club, as a non-league football club, I think we play in 5 or 6 different competitions outside of the domestic Bostik Premier League. And like you just said there, having the different competitions that you play in can only really sort of encourage you to use your squad rotation system as well as you possibly can, because otherwise you end up having players playing 70 games a season, which...
You've got the Premier League rounds as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
So in the FA Cup, you're playing 4 or 5 rounds for most other teams in
Absolutely. And as a club, you're having to prioritise which competitions you feel are the most important to you and your football club. So,
Ryan, as a player, much is talk now about sports science and maybe the competitiveness, the advances in fitness and strength means that games are more physical than they perhaps were back in the 80s when they would drink before and after games. I say before sometimes. And but now as a player, do you feel that? Do you feel that you can't play perhaps 2-3 games a week because you got to compete at such a high level for one of them, or do players really not care?
I don't know. It's different for every player, I think. I know there's some players out there like myself who will go out and probably train 4 or 5 times a week anyway. So when it comes to 2-3 games a week, you're conditioned for it. But obviously there's players who have, not going to say don't have ambition to go higher, but they don't want to go back into the full-time game at non-league level. So where they're only training twice a week and playing 1 game, when it does come to being more demanding, their body's not trained for that, shall we say. It does put a lot of strain on your body, and I think this season I think I've played 40 odd games and I've ended up getting injuries because of it, muscle injuries, because the pitches, you know yourself, Frank, as you're playing as a manager, that 1 minute you're playing on soft pitches, next minute you're playing on hard pitches. It's not good for the muscles, and like you say, for a manager to be told you have to play that player, it's wrong, because the manager's job is to look after. You've got a duty of care over them players. You can't then say, oh yeah, he has to play because we've got suspension just where he has to play because he played the last game. We have to keep them 5 players in the squad. I think that's wrong, personally.
Does it not? I was going to ask you whether fielding the weakened sides, perhaps, and I say that in the loosest of terms, but does it devalue competitions? When you look at any other walk of life, that you get certain jobs that are done by certain people, and if perhaps it's not as big a job in a company, you might give that to someone else because they need the experience. The argument can go on and on, can't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think in anything, Ben, especially sport and team sports, you've got to give opportunity to everybody. Players are competitive. They want to try and get to the highest level, and they want to try and reach the highest heights within their football clubs. And the only way that players are going to be able to do that is by gaining the experience and by playing football matches and games. And people can surprise you. You can make changes to things rightly or wrongly, and then all of a sudden people can come into form and play well and end up keeping their shirt. So I think it's definitely something that should stay in place, where you're able to just make decisions as and when you feel the right to.
I think with that, Ben, is that we said about other walks of life as well. Not many other walks of life are physically demanding like sport. How many fights does a boxer have a year? 2 or 3 for that reason. If they have more than that, look at the long-term damage of that person. So I think other walks of life where it's less physically demanding on you, you can get away with using the top people all the time. But footballers live in a bubble. Everyone knows that. In a professional sport bubble, you've got to look after that because you need to be playing at your best. You need to be your physical peak on a Saturday and on a Tuesday. You can't afford to not be, otherwise you'll lose the game.
And finally, on the consistency of starting 11s, are we at a stage now where, I mean, you look at tactics as well, on the amount of changes that are made game by game. It's not like it used to be. Managers will make changes, maybe 3 or 4 changes. And again, you look at United last night, just because it was that last Champions League game. The changes that were made since they won against the Liverpool game, because tactically they felt they needed something else.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether or not the tactic side, Ben, comes into it in terms of, the change of personnel. I mean, obviously, different players suit different strengths. I think that what is important that should be mentioned in this argument is the criticism of fans, because I think that there is an obligation as a football club, and I think that that's probably where it comes into it in terms of the argument of having to play a full strength side as often as you can, because I think there's an expectation from supporters who pay good money to come and watch their favourite teams play, and they want to see the team do well and they want to see the team win. And unfortunately, I think that there's probably a minority of football fans that want to see as many of the squad players getting an opportunity as possible. I think that the majority of football fans want to see the team progress and do well, and that overriding factor is probably what sort of drives that further.
We're going to continue to talk about competition across non-league football. We've also got Super Sub, and we'll preview all of the fixtures throughout the non-league pyramid just before we go at 9 o'clock.
You're listening to Back of the Net, powered by Promote UK. We're really good at what we do.
Times are changing. We now live in a digital world where 9 out of 10 people use the internet to look for local goods and services. Whether in front of a computer at home or on a mobile phone on the go, people expect to find what they want, when they want, quickly and easily. The question is, can your business be found? At Promote UK, we specialise in getting local businesses found online. One highly affordable package will give your business a stunning mobile responsive website, which we guarantee to get to the first page of Google and keep it there. And we take care of everything: copywriting, design, hosting. We even offer unlimited amends all year round for no extra charge. So, whilst you're busy focusing on your business, we're busy making sure it can be found online all year round. Start your Google Page One journey today with a free online health check by visiting promoteUKLimited.com. Promote UK. We're really good at what we do.
Are you looking for a little bit more than a good meal at a pub? The Half Moon is a hidden gem located in the picturesque village of Charlwood on the Surrey-Sussex borders. Proud of old traditions, this old English pub offers tasty fresh food with locally sourced ingredients, comfortable dining and traditional bar area, as well as a lovely garden for your enjoyment. Evening with friends or lunch with family, whatever the occasion, you can expect our friendly and welcoming staff to help. Half Moon Charlwood. Check out our Facebook page for upcoming events and live music.
Need to refuel? Whether you're heading home or away, get ahead of the game and refuel at Dorking's Service Centre. Dorking's local retailer of quality BP fuel, Costa coffee and food to go. Find us at the traffic lights close to Dorking Halls or at dorkingservicecentre.com.
From Premiership to Playground, MH Goals has everything you need for an outstanding football match, including aluminium and steel football goals, nets, line marking machines, team shelters, boot wipers, and much more. Buy with confidence direct from the manufacturer with great prices available across our whole range of sports equipment. What's more, we offer fantastic discounts for all FA affiliated clubs. We pride ourselves on British manufacturing. We make all our football goals here in the UK and conform to the latest British and European safety standards. So call MH Goals direct on 01502 711 298 or visit our online store at mhgoals.com.
Head to backoftheNetSouth.co.uk tomorrow morning for video highlights and full match reaction of today's games. Back to your favourite non-league football show, powered by Promote UK. We're really good at what we do. Back of the net, where it matters.
It's 2 minutes past 8. Let's get the latest non-league news with James Cummins.
With all the latest news from across non-league football. Online at backoftheNetSouth.co.uk and broadcasting live on YouTube, Twitter and Facebook. This is Back of the Net News.
Crisis hit. Dulwich Hamlet have announced that they've agreed to play their home games at Tooting and Mitcham United Imperial Fields for the remainder of the season. The club have made numerous headlines recently, with landlords Meadow Residential terminating their licence to play at their Champion Hill home ground. Confidence is growing that a deal for Raj Singh to gain control of Hartlepool United can be struck to stave off the threat of administration. The agreement, which is edged closer over the last few days, is understood to still be some way off though, with complex legal and contract details yet to be ironed out. National League side Tranmere Rovers have taken the tough decision to close the club's academy. Rovers are currently well in the race to return to the English Football League, sitting third in the Vanarama National, but the Prenton Park club will no longer be having teams of players under 16. It's been announced that the Evo Stick League members have voted 37 to 27 in favour of an East and West split for its Step 4 divisions starting from next season. The switch should help cut out geographical anomalies, reduce travelling costs and encourage more Step 5 clubs to climb the pyramid. And finally, BT Sports have renewed its exclusive rights to broadcast the Vanarama National League for a further 3 years until 2021. BT have been broadcasting live and exclusive coverage of the English football's 5th tier since its launch in August 2013. The deal will see one match broadcast live each week, with extended highlights of all the other games also being shown. That's the latest news stories. I'm James Cummins.
So welcome back to the show tonight. I'm just Insta-storying you, James, on your news.
I wondered what you were doing. I could see by the corner of my eye that you were doing something.
We've had so much going on the show so far tonight. Do you use Insta-story, Frank?
My wife uses it a lot, so I feature in it a lot. But I haven't quite grasped it. I use Instagram still version, but I don't use the
it's a whole different ball game.
Videos.
I never look at people's stories. As we found out when we were trying to do an Instagram story earlier, I'm not good at stories.
I'm a good storyteller. But
that's all you need to be.
Oh, there you go.
If you're a good storyteller, that's more than doing Insta stories. But Adam failed miserably earlier. And you're meant to be our social media guru.
I blame the lack of Wi-Fi for that. The knowledge was there, the technology wasn't.
I'm just having a look, see what I can do to make your news reading any more exciting for someone to view. I think I've worked it out. I think I've worked it out better than you, Adam, and you're our social media manager.
Can we have James Cummins on fire?
Why would you want me on fire?
To add a bit of excitement.
What?
I'm not.
No,
not literally, with effect.
I'm not that much of a pro on it. Right, okay, let's get on with the show tonight. Plenty more to come. We're going to talk all about the league games across the non-league at the weekend. I'm losing my train of thought there. And we're also going to do Super Sub, which, Ryan, you're taking part in tonight. Have you seen it before?
I have, yes. I've been training for it, so hopefully I can get a good time.
5 times a week, apparently, as well.
5 times a week. Yeah.
We're going to talk now about the UEFA homegrown rule. And it was introduced at the beginning of the 2010-11 season. The rule was designed to incentivise the Premier League teams to sign players who were developed within the English League system or develop players themselves. This, again, James, is a real big talking point, this homegrown talent. We're going to see how it affects the non-league.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really tough one, to be honest, because the definition of a homegrown player is defined as a player who, irrespective of their nationality or age, has been registered with any association football club affiliated with the Football Association or the Football Association of Wales for a period, continuous or non-continuous, for 3 seasons or 36 months prior to his 21st birthday. So this is a kind of debate which has been rumbling on for ages and ages and ages, to be honest. And this is one thing which is never going to go away. It's like, how many homegrown players are we going to have? Not just in the big leagues, but is it going to affect the non-league pyramid as well? In effect, how many players are we going to be from homegrown? How many players are we going to have which come from further afield? Is this something which needs to be enforced a bit more? So again, let's throw it to our other panelists.
Have we got an example of the homegrown rule in terms of clubs that have stood out with that?
Well, I'm going to give you a couple of definitions. In fact, James, I know that you've done some research on this with each Premier League team and how many players they can register and what the rules are.
That's right, I have done. Each Premier League team, I can't even speak, it's the banana bread that's done that, can only register 25 players over the age of 21 for a season for their first team matches. Of those 25 players, no more than 17 can be foreign players from further afield.
So 8 of... Right, okay. Sorry.
So, in other words, if, for example, Watford, as a good example of a club, want to submit a maximum of 25 players in their squad for the Premier League season, they would have to have had at least, like I think you just mentioned, Frank, 8 homegrown players. A team can submit less than 25 players, but only 17 of those particular players can be from outside of Britain.
Right.
Okay, so that clear it up. And also, the definition of a homegrown player. Homegrown player is defined as a player who, irrespective of their nationality or age, has been registered with any association football club affiliated to the FA or Football Association of Wales for a period continuous or non-continuous of 3 seasons or 36 months prior to his 21st birthday. So it gives you a little bit of an idea of what it means. Are there, again, we talk about these loopholes in the legislation and how clubs like maybe at the top level of the game, Chelsea and City, get away with this?
Well, I know that Chelsea are an example of a club that loan out quite a number of their players. Again, I don't know whether or not statistically they're the homegrown examples. But I certainly think that it should in theory develop the national team, shouldn't it? It should be there to sort of really benefit, the nations that are producing homegrown players, as it were.
I think there's a cheat though to it, and I think that's starting to come into effect. I think you said Manchester City, Chelsea, United, they've started to buy players at a younger age.
Yeah,
again, kids that are 6 and 7, and they're putting them through from abroad.
Yeah,
and their class as homegrown players when they turn 21.
We look at the effect on non-league, which we're interested in tonight, and the fact that players, if clubs have to have more of these players that are homegrown, would it mean that they keep players on and send them out on loan?
I guess so. I mean, I think it's vastly different in non-league football because you just, again, the financial side of things comes into it, the implications of that, and where you can recruit players from, and so many players from nowadays are brought in from overseas, whereas in non-league football there is an expectancy that there's more domestic players playing in the lower tiers, especially in non-league level. It'd be interesting to know what the ratios are for the non-league football, especially Bostik League. How many international players are playing in the Bostik Premier, for example? It'd be quite interesting to know what portion of that, or what portion are homegrown players.
This came up on a show a few weeks ago. We were talking about academy players in non-league football. But should there be mandatory positions for academy players in a 25-man squad, say? So you have to take 3 of those positions have to be players that are playing in your academy.
I think that's an interesting rule, to be honest, because I definitely think that it creates a natural pathway for academy players and development players to progress into first team football. And again, it gives a direct opportunity to those players. It's difficult because even myself as a non-league manager at Tooting and Mitcham, we sort of not battle against, that's the wrong way of putting it, but we have a development squad and an academy system, and our academy coaches and our development coaches, their primary role is to develop those players into the first team and see that pathway as a natural progression. But there's differences in first team football to what there is in non-league in development football. I know that we've had this debate on the show before, but it's a difficult thing to try and integrate young players into first team environments, straight away. But I think that there definitely is something that should be there in place where there is a pathway. And like you say, Ben, if there is a minimum requirement for a number of players that you should have from your own academy, then I think that would definitely help that filtration system.
going to ask you now, because you're the only manager in tonight, how have you used your academy this season? Have your academy players made it onto the bench for a game or two?
Oh, we've heavily used our academy and our development system this season. Most sort of recent examples would be Dominic Morgan-Griffiths, midfield player, who's on a contract at the club. Isaiah Jones and Topi Fadahunzi. They're 3 players that have probably played no less than 20 games for the first team this season. So there's a great example there of our own development players that have played as many, if not more, than most other senior cap players in the side at the minute. And probably in total we've probably got about 6 players from the development side training regularly with the first team as well. So we really dip into our youth system.
And this was something actually that I mentioned because I messaged you after I managed an under-18s game against your under-18s, and there was one of your players that were playing centre-back was incredibly well-built, fast, played the game really well. And you actually said to me at the time in the message, he's been in and around
Eric,
first-team training. Yeah,
he has. And again, that's part of the progression really from our development squad players into the first team. The contracted players that we've got are permitted to train with the first team at least once a week. That's a club policy that we have, and that helps their natural progression. And Eric, like you suggested, who's an under-18s player, and some other examples are players that have been training on a less frequent basis, but still included in first team sessions, so that as and when they are called upon, the environment seems a more familiar one to them.
If we look at it the other way round, James, with up to 17 players allowed to be foreign in EFL teams, would this forever keep the divide between the professional clubs and non-league? Because if everyone had to field, for example, back in the day, I remember famously Manchester United playing in a Champions League very early 90s, and you had the likes of Schmeichel and Cantona, I think Kanchelskis, all sitting on the bench because there was that rule where you could only play 3 non-British players.
I do remember about that, because it used to be you could only play 3 EU players. I think I remember seeing that roughly on Premier Manager 97 of all things. But I don't think there'd be a divide between the teams that are in the Premier League and non-league. I think it would, like what Frank was saying, it could be a development path for players from the academy that could potentially go into the first team. And I think that when we had a debate last time, we were trying to find out the validity of academies in general to see what kind of use they would have. The number of academies that we have in all levels of football, do they really have an effect upon the game with the amount of players that are successful in going into the first team from the people that come through the academy? So I don't think there would be a divide between the top teams and non-league if there was a ruling to come into place.
Ryan, you haven't had a say on this debate. What do you think of it all?
I think for what Frank said there, spot on. I think it's hard with teams and managers. They're under a lot of pressure to win games, and I think that can sometimes take precedent rather than allowing players to develop. I think the structure Frank's got at Tooting and Mitcham's spot on, where you integrate the players over a period of time. You can't just throw young lads into the first team straight away. So maybe a situation where, like Frank's done, you send players on loan to allow them to get that game time. I know for myself, speaking personally, that I went on loan to Leatherhead from Crawley, and I played a few games in the first team for Crawley and made my debut in that. But the first Leatherhead game I played was, I think, Whittam Town away, and that was just the worst game I could imagine. I turned up, the pitch was a cow field, and I got into a fight 10 minutes in because I thought someone put a late tackle on me. And when the Leatherhead players come up to me and goes, "No, that is non-league football, you just got to deal with it." I'm like, really? Like, I've been used to nice pitches, the home pitch call ain't too bad. So I think definitely the fact that you go and you loan players out, and again, it goes back to the dual registration thing. I think that is important because you can't just throw young lads in there. Because you have to have local talent in your squads. I think it gives the fans something to relate to. I know Tranmere have just shut down their academy. I think that's, I don't want to say it's the wrong thing to do, but financially it must be tough. But I think young lads being involved in the first team is one of the most important things you can have, because it allows the fans to relate to someone local.
So many clubs have closed their academies though, simply because they don't make any money. I mean, if you look at it from a financial perspective, if you're not bringing the players through or the players are getting poached before you can sell them, what is the point?
But is that the coach's job to make the players?
This is a debate that we had many weeks ago on the show about academies, but a really good point to bring in, Adam. James, just final word on this. Do clubs compete too much on profile? Are they short-sighted, really, not bringing through homegrown players? Or is really the monetary side of the game just too much now that you can't develop players?
Unfortunately, I think it is a lot that the monetary side of the game does take a massive precedence with football. In today's society, unfortunately, money talks, whatever level you're at, and unfortunately, sometimes in some respect, the talent that you have and the progression of players that you have is sometimes oversighted for the fact that you can make more of a profit by bringing in players further afield and playing the best 11 rather than developing the talent that you have.
And is there too much money in the game, would you say, at the top level?
I think there is.
£350,000 a week. Yeah,
it's a lot of money. There's a lot of money, but we will not go into that. That's for another
Premier
day.
League footballers are not paid enough. James Cummins.
I can see you getting angry.
Let's move on. We're going to do Super Sub. Ryan's playing Super Sub tonight. Do we need to ask him to leave the room?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Ryan's going to have to leave us. We're going to put some Miley Cyrus on for him next door so he can't hear.
I love that.
Yeah, we thought you might. We chose it especially for you. In fact, we got it from a playlist that's got Beyonce on as well. It's from Frank's team dressing room. So
Yeah. Track 4.
Okay, let's get on with Super Sub. First of all, we've got James Shaw on the line, the Burgess Hill Town goalkeeper. James, very good evening to you.
Hello everyone.
Let's talk about yourself and Burgess Hill. Obviously, we know that the place that you're in the table. I'm sure you're doing everything you can as a squad to improve. What's it like at the moment in the dressing room?
Yeah, it's to be honest, I don't think it's as bad as people would think. We're quite upbeat. We know we haven't really been very consistent, and we also feel that we haven't had a rubber to green quite a lot of the time. Like we've walked off the pitch so many times thinking, Christ, we played well, but we haven't got anything out of this. So we are very confident. We're sure that our sort of fortunes will turn around. But we're looking forward to a run of games now. We've got I think we've got 13 games left, and there's going to be a couple of times when it's 2 or 3 a week, might be a couple of Tuesday and Thursday weeks. So I think that will really suit us. I think when we got on a roll before Christmas, we sort of beat some good sides. We drew with Margate at home, and we beat Leaston. And so, yeah, we're just looking forward to getting the games out of the way now. It's been really annoying, having the games like last night called off quite a lot of them late. So, yeah, looking forward to getting on with it. And we're more than confident we'll catch up with Frank's team and a couple of others, hopefully.
As a goalkeeper, I'm always fascinated by the position, especially when things potentially aren't going so well out on pitch and maybe struggling to score and do certain things. Mm-hmm. Is it even more important that you keep your focus?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think for me personally, I think sometimes you can get a bit too wrapped up in what's going on elsewhere on the pitch, and because it's a really individual position as such. You have to concentrate, worry about your own performance, because at the end of the day, you can't really affect anything else that's going on elsewhere. You just got to play the best you can, I guess. And that's something I've been trying to work on this season. So,
okay, tonight you're going to play Super Sub, and I assume that you've been intrigued by this every week that we've played it, and you know how it works.
Yeah, I know how it works. I've been looking forward to it.
Confident?
Yeah, I'm always confident, to be honest. That doesn't mean I'll be any good at it. But yeah, no, I'm quietly, not quietly confident. I'm confident, yeah.
So if you want to be top of the leaderboards, you've got to beat, I think it's 40 seconds is the time that you've got to beat. So and that was done last week, and it was done by
Millie Colbrand.
Millie Colbrand, there we go. Millie Colbrand did it last week, 40 seconds, really showed up her manager, and it's going to take some beating. But we're going to set the tone, and we will start your time. And remember, all you've got to do is substitute the correct answer for anything that isn't the correct answer. We'll start your time now. What shade of blue do Manchester City play in?
Red.
What colour is Coventry City's kit?
Green.
Who is top of the Premier League?
Chelsea.
What colour stripes do Newcastle play in?
Red and white.
Dulwich Hamlet play in which colours?
Purple and black.
Mike Ashley owns which Premier League club?
Aston Villa.
Complete the team name. Dulwich.
Police.
How many minutes is one half of a football match?
50.
Time added on to the end of a football match is called what?
Added time.
I need another answer.
Bonus time.
Paul Pogba plays for...
Man City.
Okay, stop the clock. We'll stop it there. How do you think you got on, James?
Not as well as I thought I was going to, be honest. I thought that one with the added time stumped me a bit.
It is the ones that are so... You just want to say the right answer, and you can't do it. We're going to go through some of your answers right now, and then we'll get your time. Let's have a look at what you said. So a couple of the ones early on were about kits. You went for red and green as your first answers, Man City and Coventry. What stripes did Newcastle play in? Red and white. We took that. That was fine. We had a lot of colours in tonight's Super Sub. And of course, bonus time in the end was something that you said. Paul Pogba playing for Man City. Interesting. So those were some of your answers this evening. We're about to get your score right now to tell you where you are. 50 seconds. Is that it? I'm getting loads of papers, bits of paper thrown at me, both of our producers. Right, they were basically writing down that you're 6th in the leaderboard, joint with Brannon Daly. You did it in 50 seconds, which is no shame when you mention, Remy, which player?
Jack Cooley. But who have we relegated? Who have we relegated now? Because we've now got 22 players in. So whoever was at the bottom. So Michael Campbell, he's now been relegated. He's now top of the championship though. So it's not all bad. There's a positive somewhere in there.
The big silver lining tonight is that Jack Cooley is in the promotion places of the championship. And he didn't think that earlier on in the season that would ever happen. Okay, James, listen, thanks ever so much for coming on and playing. And we wish you, of course, I'll say it quietly because Frank's in the room, the best of luck,
James.
For the rest of the season.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for having me on. Good luck to Frank and everyone else there as well.
Brilliant. Thanks ever so much. James Shaw, the Burgess Hill Town goalkeeper, playing Super Sub. Okay, we're going to invite Ryan back in to play Super Sub after this.
You're listening to Back of the Net, powered by Promote UK. We're really good at what we do.
Times are changing. We now live in a digital world where 9 out of 10 people use the internet to look for local goods and services. Whether in front of a computer at home or on a mobile phone on the go, people expect to find what they want, when they want, quickly and easily. The question is, can your business be found? At Promote UK, we specialise in getting local businesses found online. One highly affordable package will give your business a stunning mobile responsive website, which we guarantee to get to the first page of Google and keep it there. And we take care of everything: copywriting, design, hosting. We even offer unlimited amends all year round for no extra charge. So, whilst you're busy focusing on your business, we're busy making sure it can be found online all year round. Start your Google Page One journey today with a free online health check by visiting promoteUKLimited.com. Promote UK. We're really good at what we do.
From Premiership to Playground, MH Goals has everything you need for an outstanding football match, including aluminium and steel football goals, nets, line marking machines, team shelters, boot wipers, and much more. Buy with confidence direct from the manufacturer with great prices available across our whole range of sports equipment. What's more, we offer fantastic discounts for all FA affiliated clubs. We pride ourselves on British manufacturing. We make all our football goals here in the UK and conform to the latest British and European safety standards. So call MH Goals direct on 01502 711 298 or visit our online store at mhgoals.com.
Are you a budding footballer sitting your GCSEs next summer, wondering what to do next? Want to play football while studying for qualifications that will get you into university? Dorking Wanderers Football Club are now recruiting for their football academy for 2018-2019. Based at their brand new state-of-the-art Meadowbank Stadium, you'll be playing in the National Conference Youth Alliance against the best clubs in the area each week, as well as the prestigious FA Youth Cup. You'll be studying BTEC Level 3 qualifications, equivalent to 3 A-levels, alongside professional coaching from our UEFA qualified coaches. For information on trials and open evenings, visit dorkingwanderers.com/academy or email academy@dorkingwanderers.com.
Head to backofthenetsouth.co.uk tomorrow morning for video highlights and full match reaction of today's games. Back to your favourite non-league football show, powered by Promote UK. We're really good at what we do. Back of the net, where it matters.
So welcome back to the show tonight. We're going to do Super Sub round 2 now, and Ryan's going to do it. Before we do Super Sub, we usually talk about the club that you're at and and how life's going. Can you reveal the club that you're going to sign for?
Not yet. I don't think they know yet.
You said to me earlier in the show that if I guess it, you will tell me if I get the right answer.
You're not going to go for all of them, are you?
I've got a few that I want to go for.
Welling United. Whitehawk.
No?
No, not Whitehawk.
Okay, let's try a couple more.
Western Supermare.
Too far.
Okay, I've got a couple more suggestions.
Soham Town Rangers.
Possibly.
Ooh, there was a bit of a pause there.
Soham.
Or maybe it's closer to home for us on a show.
Haybridge Swifts.
Not sure.
Ooh. Or my personal favourite.
If Jodie's listening, by the way.
Chippenham Town.
Maybe.
Okay, right, we could be here all day doing
LA Racing Union.
You're enjoying
How many
it,
nights a week do you train if there's like 8 clubs in contention?
I've had more clubs than Tiger Woods, don't worry about that.
Basically what it was, we got these made earlier in the season at great expense, but we stopped using the feature so they don't get used much.
Tooting and Mitcham United.
Quite possibly.
Yeah. I've seen the way you've been talking tonight.
We've drawn up a contract already.
So tell me a little bit about where your career started and the clubs that you've been at.
I signed the youth team for Crawley. Done my 2 years there. Went through to play professionally for them. Played in the JPT, so I was quite thankful actually. They allowed us to rotate the squads, so I wasn't going to play. Ended up going on loan to Leatherhead for a little bit there. So that was an eye opener for me. But then next season, due to injuries, things changed. Ended up playing for Loxford and Worthing before moving to Grays. Then ended up at Bishop Stortford, went to Margate, back to Stortford. Basically, I've been quite unlucky. There's been a lot of money problems. The teams I like to go to teams that got money problems.
Your wages are that high.
You got a few. There's a few different train journeys there that you've.
To be fair,
trains.
up until this season, I was getting the train everywhere. So I was going down to Worthing to stay overnight at a mate's house, and Margate was a nice 6-hour round trip for home games.
James would be able to tell you all the stations in between as well.
Not now. Not now.
I have no doubt about that.
Well, we look forward very much to your announcement of who you're going to play for the rest of the season. Right now, we're going to get on with Super Sub. All you have to do is substitute the correct answer for anything that is not correct. You feeling confident?
No. But we'll give it a go.
To win tonight's battle, you need to get more than 50 seconds, do it quicker than 50 seconds. If you want to avoid the championship, you need to avoid doing it in a 1 minute 40. Or Division 1. And if you want to go top, you've got to beat 40 seconds. Right, let's see how you get on, and let's start your time now. What shade of blue do Manchester City play in?
Red.
What colour is Coventry City's kit?
Pink.
Who is top of the Premier League?
Liverpool.
What colour stripes do Newcastle playing?
Blue and red.
Dulwich Hamlet playing which colours?
I actually don't know this one. White.
Mike Ashley owns which Premier League club?
Stoke.
Complete the team name. Dulwich.
FC.
How many minutes is one half of a football match?
72.
Time added on to the end of a football match is called?
Bonus time.
Paul Pogba plays for?
Spurs.
Stop the clock. Let's stop the clock there right now. Okay.
That was good.
That's good.
So, do you...
Bonus ball.
do you feel confident, Ryan?
Solid.
I'm quite impressed. I'm actually quite happy. I think training went really well there.
Okay, we're just going to take a look at some of your answers, and we're also going to get your score this evening to see. I think it's safe to say that you're going to be in the Premier League for the end of the night. But let's first of all look at some of your answers. So we had a few colours come up, red and pink to start with. Liverpool top of the Premier League. Are you a Liverpool fan?
Oh, Man United.
Okay, there we go.
They're never going to be there, don't worry.
We also had how many minutes is one half foot match? Straight away though, it was 72. There's no hesitation at all.
Straight in.
That's the time Pogba should have come off last night.
Bonus time. Bonus time was. Is that the same answer we had before?
It was. Yeah.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah,
bonus time.
Two of the same.
And Spurs. Paul Pogba played for. Right. I can tell you.
Can I actually ask what colours do Dulwich Hamlet play in?
They actually play in pink and blue.
Oh, good.
So there we go.
I was nervous about that one. I didn't know.
So I can tell you that you have relegated Nassam Ducali because you're in the Premier League. So Nassam now goes in to the Championship. Fortunately for him, there's only 3 players in there, so you are in the playoff positions, Nassam. So you did it in 32 seconds, which means you are top of our leaderboards. That is worth a round of applause. It's getting so competitive now, Super Sub.
Wow.
We started off with some really, really high scores, and the last few weeks have seen 40 seconds, 32. Frank, do you think people are now practicing this?
It seems to be an added benefit coming into the studio and doing it live. Maybe this should be something that you guys think about in future weeks.
Yeah, good idea.
Well, listen, well done for that, because that is some really impressive feat. Okay,
very good, mate.
We are going to now look at some of the fixtures across the weekend. Plenty of action this weekend, plenty of important fixtures as well, as you wouldn't be surprised to know, coming to this stage in the season. First of all, Billericay Town take on Needham Market in the Bostik Premier Division. Although Billericay are 4th in the division compared to Needham Market in 18th, the visitors could cause an upset on Saturday. Billericay are on a poor run of form, losing their previous 4 games against Leiston, Folkestone Invicta, Worthing and Dulwich Hamlet. The hosts have a game against Dorking Wanderers tomorrow night. However, a positive result would give their side some confidence maybe that they need. Needham Market have shown impressive form in their last few games, winning 3, drawing 1 and losing another. We've talked so much, Frank, about this Billericay story this season, and just when everybody thought they were running away with it, there is a lot of pressure on those players now.
Yeah, definitely seems to be reflected in their performances and of course their results of late. And without sounding too sort of damning towards Harry and the club, I think it's I don't want to say it's a good thing, but I think that what I mean by that is there's a human side to Billericay, as a manager and as a fellow sort of Bostik Premier team in the division. It highlights that the level of football is very demanding. No matter what, whether it's budget inflicted or whatever else it might be. The level of football itself can be very competitive, and full credit to the teams that have obviously taken some scalps off of Billericay this season. But I still think that Harry and the side down there are going to be strong enough to hold on until the end of the season, and of course wish him well.
James, it's going to be interesting to see if Billericay, the next couple of games, I'd say, are crucial. If they fail to beat Dorking Wanderers tomorrow night, the pressure will be on Saturday against Needham Market, who are in form. A couple more defeats and people really will then start to say that the race for the title is open.
I think it's fully back on for the other teams below them. They've seen the fact that Billericay aren't indestructible, the fact that they can lose games. I'm looking at their next couple of games after Dorking Wanderers and Needham Market. They've got very, very difficult games. They've got Hendon away, then Wingate and Finchley away, Harrowborough at home, then they have Leatherhead to round off the remaining games in March. So if they don't win their games against Dorking Wanderers and Needham Market, the other teams that are behind them at the moment, in looking at where they are, they can think, right, well, Billericay not doing so well at the moment. I've got a difficult test as well against Needham Market. Needham Market are 2nd in the form table at the moment, which is impressive for them. They have had a really decent meteoric rise so far in their last couple of games. Billericay Town 2nd from bottom in the form table. So it just shows Harry Wheeler's side is not having the best of times at the moment.
As we said earlier in the show, I think Frank said it himself, he'd rather have points in the board than games in hand. I mean, I looked at Dawkins' fixtures and Hayward Swift's fixtures coming up recently, and they've got to play some of them playing Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Monday.
It's crazy.
It's just too many games, and that is where you need to rotate the squad.
Yeah.
Then you've got to have that depth, strength in depth, really.
That's where they're going to step up, though, because you just got to... you just got to think that one win for them, and they go back top of the table, and everything's dandy again. You know, they've still got 7 games in hand on Folkestone, and only 3 points behind. So you know, one win on Thursday, and everything's back again, and they're shooting off. Just thought I'd add in that producer Luke has joined the table. Luke, likes to preview the fixtures. I
thought it was James in one of his funny voices again.
South African.
Don't start, mate. Okay, next game we're going to look at is Leytonstad. I keep saying it wrong. Apologies. Leiston versus Wingate and Finchley. Leiston are unbeaten in their previous 4 games, winning 3 and drawing 1. The draw was against Margate last Tuesday, but it was almost a victory as Margate netted an equaliser in the 90th minute. The hosts are currently 7th in the league with 59 points, 3 points ahead of Wingate and Finchley, who currently sit in 9th. The visitors, however, have a game in hand. Still, Leiston have a decent chance as Wingate and Finchley are on poor form, losing 3 and drawing 2 of their last 5 games. So Leiston, a really good side, got some good players in their teams, but Wingate and Finchley, if we've seen so far this season, they're no pushovers, are they?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, this. So we mentioned Frank earlier. Leiston are now in that sort of run of form that they look like they're contenders for the playoffs. Yeah, definitely, and I think they've hit form at a good time, I think, with this sort of last stretch of the season to go. We recently played Leiston. We was very impressed with their organisation and strength in many areas, and I think that Leiston are probably, for me, are real sort of hot favourite outsider, I think, for having a good sort of run into the end of the season. I think they could definitely secure a playoff spot in the current form that they're playing in. They've been really impressive. All tight in the Bostik Premier Division into the North Division now. And AFC Sudbury take on Potters Bar Town. Potters Bar Town are 4th in the Bostik North, but their position is not secure due to a 3-point deduction for playing an eligible player on the 18th of November. They're on 64 points, and the side is being chased by Haringey Borough and Maldon and Tiptree. AFC Sudbury are 11th in the league and on 48 points. With mixed form. Although the side have lost their last 2 games, they took 2 wins and a draw prior to that. Potters Bar Town are now unbeaten in their last 4 games, winning 2 and drawing 2. James, Sudbury, Potters Bar Town, 2 clubs that would expect to be there or thereabouts. Yeah, definitely. 2 very, very good, capable sides. Of course, ASC Sudbury were relegated last year from the Premier. They're no pushovers. Potters Bar as well showed last night against a very capable Haybridge Swiss side that they're no pushovers either. This is going to be a really intriguing encounter at the weekend, and these 2 sides could very much still be within the chance of getting into the playoffs come the end of the season. Again, these are 2 sides you would expect to do really well so far this season. I can't really pick between both sides, to be honest, who's going to come out on top in this game, but hopefully come the weekend this will be a really decent encounter to come. Ryan, you listed off all the clubs that you play for. You're well travelled. Do you know much of the Bostik North?
I actually live that way. No, I don't. I generally play for the Bostik South teams. I like to travel.
It's all the trains, mate. That's what it is.
Yeah, I don't mind it. It's a nice time to think. Reflect upon life.
Really good division to be in at the top of. It's really close at the top of the table, apart from AFC Hornchurch, who do look like they've got promotion sewn up. Next up, we're into the Bostik South. Into the Bostik South we go, and it's Chipstead versus South Park with these 2 Surrey sides. They're both close in the table. South Park are 14th with 47 points, whilst Chipstead are 15th with 45 points. South Park have a significant advantage, though, with 6 games in hand over their hosts. So again, those teams that have got a massive backlog of games, that comes into effect as well. The result could go either way as both sides are in bad form. The Chips are winless in 3 and South Park have lost 2, drawn 1 and won once in their last 4 games. The visitors face Herne Bay tomorrow evening, hoping to pick up a decent result along the way. So 2 evenly matched sides going head to head in the Bostik South. You know this division well from last year, and it always seems to be pretty close. We had 2 runaway leaders last time. We haven't quite got that, and there's teams that probably fancy that they could still get those automatic promotion places. Yeah,
sort of keeping half an eye on a good mate of mine, Mr. Paul Dale. They've travelled to Cray Wanderers tonight with Whiteleaf, and I still think that there's going to be a sort of late bloomer in that playoff spot. I know that Walton Casuals had a good result last night, but again, a similar story for South Park, isn't it? team I mentioned had a good cup run last season, accumulated quite a few games in hand still to play. Hasn't quite been the same for them this year in terms of cup success, but weather's played a big part in them not having many games left. So interesting to see who wins that one. My money will probably be on South Park.
Finally, we like to throw in a non-Bostik fixture, and this week it's between Stafford Rangers and Coalville Town of the Evo Stick Premier. 11th in the table with 46 points. Staffords are unbeaten in their previous 4 matches. The side have drawn 2, including an unlucky 2-2 draw against Lancaster City, when Stafford led 2-0 until the 90th minute, and after that got 2 goals. Coalville are 17th with 43 points and recently ended a 4-game losing streak with a 2-1 win over Ashton United in their last match. James, I'm coming to you for this one. Who do you fancy, Stafford Rangers or Coalville Town?
Going straight down the middle, the better team in form at the moment are Stafford Rangers, 12th in the form table, 9 points after their last 6. Coalville Town right down towards the bottom of the form table, 22nd out of 24, only 4 points from their last 6 games. I think this is going to be an interesting encounter. Stafford Rangers, I remember when they were in the conference, and they were a tricky side to come up against, both home and away. They were a side that you didn't want to play if you were having a dip in form, because they were just a very tricky team with quite a few tricky players in their ranks. So I'm going to go for home advantage in this game, and I think it's going to be 3 points for Stafford Rangers come Saturday.
Do watch out for that one. Stafford Rangers against Coalville Town in the Evo Stick Premier Division. Okay, right, now we're going to bring back a feature that we did many moons ago when we started. It's called Who Am I? It's where you have to guess. We're going to let everyone play along with this, including producer Luke, who has basically come and sat in that seat just because he wants to play. Adam, who's on social media, is going to play as well, and Remy and Liam can shout out too. This is Who Am I? I'm going to tell you where a player was born, and then I'm going to start to list some of the clubs that he has played for, and the appearances and goals are key, as well as the dates and the clubs. All you need to do is, to make it fair, you have to say your name on the microphone, and then we'll come to you for an answer. What I'm going to say is, if it's not that answer, you're out. So you can't altogether. You can't then, just for this first one. So you have to wait till the next one.
That's the VAR of quizzes. That is controversial.
Frank doesn't look happy.
No, I am happy.
No, you didn't look happy when you just looked at me for a second ago.
It stops abuse of the system.
James, you're going to win this, surely.
No.
Okay, no. Play along wherever you are. Official BOTN on social media. Let us know how you get on, and we're going to start with the first of our Who Am I's tonight. I was born in 1984 in Tooting. In England. I made my youth career, saw me play for God Manchester Rovers, and also had a spell at Ipswich Town. My senior career started with Ipswich Town, as I made 122 appearances and scored 48 goals for the club. I then moved in 2005 to Charlton Athletic, where I made 68 appearances and scored 31 goals. James.
Darren Bent.
Is correct. It's Darren Bent, very early on. Well done, James.
Yes.
Darren Bent then went on to play.
It's like local boy. What happened?
Darren Bent went on to play for Tottenham Hotspur in 2007 with 60 appearances, 18 goals. Then it was Sunderland, 58 appearances, 32 goals. He then played for Villa, Fulham, Brighton and Derby. He's currently on loan at Burton Albion. Well done to James, getting that one nice and early. Well, and Luke, as well as Frank, furious he didn't even get an opportunity to come in. Okay, the second Who Am I? Everyone's back in. No one was disqualified from that. I was born on the 30th of January 1981. I was born in Macclesfield. My youth career...
Peter Crouch.
It's unbelievably correct.
What?
I know he was born in Macclesfield.
So that was it.
Are you joking? That's fixed.
I've got a lot of time on my hands. I know he was born in Macclesfield.
Are you joking?
No.
What goes on in your head?
Unemployment. Can't believe I've got that.
Out the door you go.
Unbelievable.
That is mad.
That's crazy.
Okay, you're ruining the feature.
Fine, keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Let's start another one. Okay.
Weirdly, actually, can I just interject? I was going to say Peter Crouch for the first answer.
Oh.
So
Peter Crouch was born in Macclesfield but grew up in West London.
Exactly, that's why.
And he's a QPR fan. I must have been on his Wikipedia page a couple of days ago.
Unbelievable. Okay, who am I? Next one.
Wow.
I was born on the 7th of October 1982. I was born in Beckton in England. My youth career...
Adam.
Go on.
It's not Jermaine Defoe, is it?
Okay, Adam, you're not playing anymore.
No. Did you get it?
How on earth have you got that?
Oh, I got it.
Yeah.
He's from Beckton, isn't he?
How do you know this?
This is rigged!
He's from where?
Beckton.
East London.
East London,
East
bro.
London. Yeah, East London way.
Genuinely, I just know that.
No. You're disqualified.
Right, yeah.
You're out. Out.
You have actually ruined the night. You've ruined the
My
future.
football knowledge is incredibly...
No. You sit down with a map of England and you say, right, okay, Jermaine Defoe, Beckton, right, Beckham, Leytonstone, it's fine.
I can't
I
believe I got that as well.
I thought James was the dark horse here, but it turns
no,
out...
no.
wow.
Football knowledge
You're
is
the
decent,
Sith.
to be fair. I am
Wow.
a bit of an encyclopedia.
Sith.
That's very good, actually.
So
Yeah.
apart from ruining the
Who writes
feature...
let's...
Ben writes
Okay.
these.
I think
There
you
is
should.
genuinely no way I
I
can
think
know.
from now on you should probably write them.
Yeah, I think you should. I
Okay,
think
no,
you
it's
should.
fine. Okay, we're going to... do you know what? I'm taking this challenge on. We're going to play another one. And I'm not going to disqualify you, Adam. You can just keep going.
Hat trick.
Okay, right, next, who am I tonight? I was born on the 8th of December in Paddington in London in 1966. My youth career started at Hayes in 1985, where I played for a year. I also played professionally for Hayes from 1986 to 1987. I made 33 appearances with 19 goals. In 1987, I went to Queen's Park Rangers, where I made 163. Go on.
Les Ferdinand.
Is correct.
Wow.
We need a playoff now.
Yeah.
This is a two-horse race. This. Oh my god.
Okay.
I'm too young to be involved.
Can we just do a little bit of filling? I'm going to get a couple of others. Okay. So
That was incredible.
No, that was not as good as yours. Yours is mad. Yours is absolutely mad.
He said the birthday and location.
And location, and that's it. Are you just following
How are
them?
you getting it from people's birthdays?
Are you literally finding people on Snapchat?
He plays
So
Football
you
Manager,
might-
doesn't
I didn't get either from the birthdays. I got both from
The
the
location.
Wikipedia.
location.
Wow.
Too much time on Wikipedia. looking at football.
I mean,
Ryan
Fill it
Giggs.
in.
I don't know about you guys, but I think we should leave these two to it.
okay, right. This is
One of you.
right. Here we go. We're gonna. Everyone else is out of the game, and this is between James and Adam.
No.
Okay. Because this is the next week, I'm going to become prepared for the battle that is going to commence. Okay, between the two of you, I was born on the 22nd of October in 1970. I was born in Rotterdam. I started my youth career with Sparta Rotterdam.
Adam.
Go on.
It's probably wrong. Is it Johan Cruyff?
It's not right. Now,
Oh.
this means that you can't now answer until James gets it wrong if he has a
Oh,
guess. So
no.
you've got to wait for James to have a guess
no,
now, so the
okay.
pressure's on James.
Oh no.
I started my senior career in 1988 with SVV. I made 11 appearances and scored 1 goal. In 1991, I played for Sparta Rotterdam for 3 seasons with 65 appearances and 14 goals. In 1994, I joined Ajax, made 62 appearances with 6 goals. In 1997, I played for Milan. I only made 3 appearances and I didn't score. In 1998, I played for Barcelona, 41 appearances with 4 goals. And in 2000, I played till 2004 with Chelsea, making 9
Stop.
appearances and no
No,
goals.
it's your name.
James.
Don't say stop.
Go on.
I'm going to get this totally wrong. Bolo Zenden.
Is incorrect.
No,
Now James is
no.
out. I'm going to pass it to
gotta be
the 3 players that weren't meant to be playing. So guys, have you got any idea?
I thought I knew it
Yeah, it's until you said Chelsea.
Until Chelsea.
Actually,
until Chelsea.
I'm just saying I'm not going to try and think
Vincent
about.
Bogart?
I was going to say.
Who have you gone for?
I'm no.
How many
Seydorf?
appearances for Chelsea? Was it 3?
No.
No.
Okay,
AC
so you've
Milan
not got an
was
answer.
3.
Right, let's go over to Adam. Adam, you've got one answer to give me. What is your answer?
Is it a goalkeeper?
No, you just got to.
Out.
You got to give me a player. You've got one answer. You've said a few names. One answer you can have.
Was one of them right?
I'm not telling you.
All on you.
Go Seydorf.
You should have stuck with one that you said. It was actually Winston Bogart.
Oh.
I said it.
No.
We'll not get it to say again.
No.
Wow.
Didn't-
Okay, that's the end of
Yeah, I think
Who Am I
so.
Tonight.
I think so.
I think it's a draw. I think it's a draw.
I said the right answer, so I think that's controversial.
Next week, I'm gonna spend most of my weekend researching the best Who Am I's there is. It is one of our most popular games. James and Adam, I think it's going to be a fascinating battle as the weeks go on, and of course, whoever else we've got in the studio. It's a little bit addictive once you start doing those.
It was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, that was very good.
I enjoyed spectating.
More of that. That is a cracking
That
feature.
is a good one. It's going to be a titanic battle, I think.
We thought the non-league quiz was good, and it was because I wrote it. But super sub.
Who am I?
Who am I?
Is where the cookie crumbles.
Super
You
sub's
need
also
a
good
non-league
feature.
version of Who Am I though? That really tests.
That'll be a good one.
We'll try and get
Yes.
some non-league links in there. I wanted to start it off this week with things that people might get. There was a theme to start with. It was English strikers. That was the theme to start with.
Yeah.
Okay, well done to Adam who got most of those right. I've got a feeling, I'm not preempting our video editor, but I've got a feeling that little clip of Who Am I might end up on social media. There's quite a few clips tonight, Luke. Okay, we're going to finish the show tonight by rounding off talking about competition and the 7-day approach rule versus a non-league transfer window. We kind of touched on this on transfer deadline day. We didn't manage to get through it all. It's such a big topic, James. How do transfers in non-league affect the competition? We were trying to rack our brains to see whether it'd be a good idea for non-league to have its own transfer window day.
I think it's not a bad idea. I think it's a good idea to try and sort of regulate some of the signings you could have within a period. But the question you have to ask yourself, especially from a managerial point of view like yours, Frank, would a transfer window actually work for the structure of the league that you're in at the moment, considering you've got players who are like non-contractual terms, people coming in on loan, the dual player system we've got? Would a transfer window or a set time you have to buy players or loan players, would it actually work within the remit of what you got?
Yeah, I think by theory it would work. I think if they refine the rules and maybe allowed or permitted the dual registration process to exist outside of the window, then I don't see why it wouldn't work. I mean, it kind of exists already, if you like, because there's a cut-off point in the division in terms of when you can sign a player by. So there's already a sort of a small existence of it already, but I don't see why it would harm anything. But then, obviously, the existing process of extending it up until I think it's the end of March, there is there and it works all the same. But no, I think it might make things interesting.
Yeah.
If a manager wants to speak to or approach a player signed with another club about signing, I'm going to go through a few of the things that you may not know, you might know, Frank obviously will, what they have to do and what the process is. They have to ask their club secretary to write to the secretary of the player's current club, giving 7 days formal written notice of their intention to speak to the player. It must be in writing in tangible form sent by special delivery or recorded post. These are the actual real facts behind what they have to do. So it's quite formal. It's quite, and this is something that every non-league manager has to do. Always ensure that you receive a red receipt, acknowledgement from the player's current club or secretary before you make any contact with the player. I'm just going to stop there because there are some incidences where, as a club, straight away you won't worry about the 7 days. You'll just say, look, just speak to the player.
Yeah, you can waive it. I think there's an informality to it that exists where, especially once you sort of build up relationships and rapport with managers and clubs, you can sort of informally sort of waive the 7-day approach. I know that the league, obviously, and for everybody that's listening, of course, all managers strictly do things by the book. Of course, we all follow the legal route of things. But if there was to ever be a situation where you could do something different, then you can sort of submit the right to a formal approach, and you can allow the player to talk to a manager.
Once that's been done, the player can be spoken to on or after the 8th day, and the player must be registered on or before the 21st day. If the player declines your offer to leave their current team and join you, then you cannot approach them again in the same season. I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Okay. Wow. That is really interesting.
Especially when they move clubs, you could have approached someone at one club at the beginning of the season, they move twice. You can't touch them. That's it.
Wow. Has tapping up ever been a problem for you?
Yes, it has. But again, probably a conversation for
off air. Okay. You can only approach one player in the same team at any one time. You cannot approach another player in the same team within 28 days of the earlier notice of approach or acknowledgement. There are quite a few things here that you have to go through. Do you like as a manager the system that's in place at the moment?
I think that the system that's there is to protect the club. So I think that we do favour it. Obviously, when you're on the other side of it, and you'd like to approach, for example, with that rule that you just read out there, Ben, more than one player at any one time. But having these sort of rules in place means that the clubs are protecting themselves, and they're not allowing, for example, clubs that fortune from a huge budget that are able to attract any player they want per se from being able to come in and storm your dressing room and take your best players. So I think that the rules that are in existence certainly help to keep clubs protected. Yeah.
We should just say that's only for players that are not on a contract. So if players are on a contract, how many players do you have on contract?
Currently at the minute, I think it's six players contracted.
And for those players, they're obviously protected, and for anyone to sign those, they would have to make an offer.
Yeah, and obviously the formalities of contracted players are far more strict, shall we say, than those that are on a non-contract basis. You absolutely cannot. I know we joked about it earlier, but you absolutely cannot approach a player that's on a contract. Then it has far more severe repercussions to approaching a non-contract player illegally.
And finally, do we think that the non-league would benefit from some sort of transfer window day? I don't know how that would work, where perhaps there was less strict rules, or it was a day that players could move, and for the last time, maybe it's in February or something like that.
You know what I think it would definitely help with? It would help with the sort of the commitment from players to clubs, because I think that everybody considers non-league football to have this huge turnover of players, and it does. I think that the rules that are there in place at the minute allows people to sort of jump from ship to ship. I think that if they were to introduce something similar to what they have in the Premier League and the other leagues, for example, a January window or something like that, or a deadline day, I think that what it would do is make sure that teams, the players for those teams stay committed to the clubs, and there's a cut-off point where people then can't abandon a team that might, for example, look at ourselves in the situation that we're in at the minute. We're down the bottom of the league and we're fighting for relegation and survival in the division. The last thing in the world that I would want as a manager is for one of my players, with 5 games to go and when it's still possible that we might stay up, to go and join a team that's fighting for a playoff place or mid-table, because they don't want to be sort of jeopardised with the position of relegation. So I think that there should be a cut-off point, but to keep players at the club as long as possible.
I think the final question would be, could non-league club secretaries cope with a transfer deadline day of all the paperwork that comes through?
I'm not sure if Tim Marcus, our secretary, is listening. But I think he'd definitely have something to say, as most would, with regards to that. But it would make the show interesting. Good feature for that, I think. That'd be brilliant.
Finally, on tonight's show, Leiston take on Wingate and Finchley at the weekend. It is the Bostik League show. Thoughts on that game, James? Obviously, we've said that Leiston are going to be up there challenging for the playoffs. It wasn't long ago where Wingate and Finchley fancied their chances as well. Yeah, absolutely. These are two very good sides. Of course, we've already said in the show that neither side are going to be a pushover. Leiston had a good win against Kingstonian. Again, we mentioned it earlier. This is going to be a really decent game to go and cover on Saturday, so it should be a really, really good match. Yeah, Leiston unbeaten in their last 4. Wingate and Finchley, poor run of form at late. They haven't won in their last 4. That's the Bostik League show. That's from Sunday morning. Make sure you go to our YouTube channel, Back of the Net. For that, you can click subscribe as well. The podcast will be up as well on Friday from 7 o'clock. And of course, we will be back next Wednesday doing it all again. My thanks to the guests this evening, Frank and Ryan, and of course, the rest of the team. And we'll see you next week at 7 o'clock.
For the best highlights from across the Bostik Leagues, visit youtube.com/Back of the Net.